see. Carl's here. All right. I don't see Lucas or Pete.
I think Greg is muted too.
Greg is not Greg.
Oh, who's that?
I don't know.
Oh, never mind. You look a little like Greg.
There's a few people on here I don't know, but it's a public hearing, so
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
We get it. Okay.
So I assume everybody's muted at this point, except for the zoning members.
Correct.
Correct.
Jen, did you hear if Paige or... Oh, here comes Lucas calling me. Hold on. Hey, Lucas. Okay, so there's an email that Jen sent back. Hold on. Let me get back to my email. This email was sent on
May 21st.
May 21st. And then the link's in there. I'll stay on for a minute in case we need to give you the number.
You should be able to just click it.
Wait, hold on. Hold on, zoning. Zoning meeting. So let me see if I can forward. Can you forward a Zoom?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so let's forward this. Forward. And include attachment. Lucas. Cherry. So it's at DOMAKA. Okay, got it. Got it. So I'm sending it right now. Okay. Yep, thanks. Bye.
Sounds like we're in Police Central or something. Hey, there's Lucas.
There he is. Okay, now I got to get back to my agenda. Where the heck is that? Here we go.
K for Lucas.
So I guess we'll start. I mean, Paige isn't here, but she may join.
Nope, there's Jeff Upton.
Well, we're
No
ready,
waving.
Jill.
No waving?
No waving, Jeff. Don't wave.
Hey guys, it's Lucas. Sorry about that.
Oh, no
Hey,
problem,
Lucas.
Lucas.
Okay, so this is a regular meeting of the Summer Zoning Commission on Monday, June 1st, 2020. This is a teleconference meeting at 6:30. I'm going to go around and let the commission members introduce themselves. I'm Jill Conklin.
I'm Carl Walton.
I'm Dan Farrow.
I'm Lucas Cherry.
And Jennifer Roy.
Tonight we have first on our agenda is second on our agenda is a public hearing. This is do you have the legal notice there?
We don't run a legal
You don't wanna-
notice.
No? Not
No.
when there's,
It's posted on the website.
okay. So this public hearing was posted on the website,
The day I sent you, what was that, May?
May
May
21st.
27th.
May
No,
20th.
May 21st.
May 21st. This is application number 20006 of the Union Agricultural Society of Summers, Enfield, Ellington, and East Windsor, Incorporated, at 56 Egypt Road, Summers. This is a special use permit application in according with the zoning regulation section 214-87, alcoholic beverages, in section 214-93, a temporary commercial use to allow agriculture events, shows, public and private events, car shows, fairs, festivals, in an industrial zone. Is there anybody here on behalf of the Union Agricultural Society?
Yeah, Stu Grant with the Union Agricultural Society.
Hi, Stu.
How are we doing tonight?
We're good.
So, do you want to tell us about your application, Stu?
Well, the town of Summers approached us and told us that we needed to fill out this special application. Fort Town Fair has no interest in selling alcohol or serving alcohol during the Fort Town Fair events. This special use permit would be for different venues that come in and people that rent certain buildings during the fair and off season, as we call it, throughout the year to serve alcohol.
Okay. So, Jennifer, do you have anything to add to this?
Well, I did receive today an email from Attorney John Parks with exhibits A through F. And I believe he's might be dialed in here to speak when you open the public hearing, but I received this information at about noon today. And it's quite extensive. There's a lot of information, so.
So you believe he's on and he's going to talk about it at some point? Yes.
I think he can unmute. Let me unmute.
Is Attorney Parks on tonight? Are you there, John?
Hang on.
You hear me?
John? Okay, that's what I thought. That was you.
Okay.
Yes, I hear you.
Okay.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you, John.
So let's officially
Thank you.
open this public hearing at 6:39 and take comments.
Can I speak?
Yes. That's Attorney
Okay.
Parks, correct?
Yes, Attorney John Parks.
Thank you.
My name is John Parks. I'm an attorney with an office in town. I did review the application submitted by the Union Agricultural Society, and the application is regarding your regulation 214-93, which is pretty straightforward. It requires the applicant to the activity has to be accessory and secondary to an existing commercial use. This is not an existing commercial use. This is a prior existing non-conforming use of record, and the phrase that's used is it's been grandfathered over the years because of that historic use. However, to my knowledge, there's been no permits from this commission ever, and so it would be, and this use predated your regulation, so these activities are not, this property is not an existing commercial use. It's a property that is in a zone that the first 400 feet is industrial and the remaining land is residential. So although the application says it's an industrial zone, the industrial zone may cover perhaps 25% the area. It runs essentially 400 feet from the center line of Egypt Road is industrial, and the remainder of the land is residential. So most of the buildings on this property are in a residential zone. Again, a prior existing non-conforming use. The second requirement of your section 214-93 is that the proposed activity shall be conducted on the property adjacent to a state highway. Egypt Road is not a state highway, so the two important criteria to qualify under this section do not exist here. Neighbors of the Union Agricultural Property contacted me when they learned of this application and asked me to investigate and the application in accordance with your regulations, which I did. And being not that familiar with the Zoom meetings, I elected to write something and submit it to the commission because I'm sure I'm supposed to be able to see you now, but I'm looking at the blank screen. I don't know, I may not be doing this right, but at least I'm on the telephone. So what I did is I prepared a document called Compliance with the Regulations, which is dated June 1, 2020. And I essentially looked at your regulation and looked at this application and basically went point for point as to what your regulations state and then how this application stacks up to it. And clearly, and on page 9 of that document entitled Compliance with the Regulation is where I discuss the non-compliance with 214-93. The document is 18 pages where I look at that use regarding other aspects of your regulation, and the activity being applied for here is merely the tip of the iceberg, but the rest of it is not before us, and it starts from your requirement for a site plan. They gave us a 31-year-old boundary survey. It doesn't show zone lines, so I've prepared exhibits A through F, which I guess memorialize the anomaly that is the Union Agricultural Society in terms of your zoning regulations. And I wasn't sure how to get them before your commission in these pandemic times, so I emailed a compliance with the regulation document, the 18-page document, to Jennifer in Word form. And the way I did it is I used black ink to indicate what your regulation says, and then in red I wrote how this application stacks up, just for purposes of comparison and ease. And then throughout the compliance with regulation, I make reference. Are you still there? Okay.
Yes, we're still here, John.
Okay, because my computer just went dark, so I thought I lost you. Then I make reference to documents which I then attach to exhibits, and of course I'm used to standing before a commission and showing these things, so I thought I would email them as well. It took a while for my computer to get these out of my Outlook box because the attachments are have a lot of pages, but they eventually went, and I did get confirmation. So I believe Jennifer has them. I also put a couple sets in the Dropbox while I was waiting for my Outlook to send, and so I think she probably has 2 hard copies, and hopefully, I know she has my emails, and I was hopeful that she would share these with the board members so that on some level we would all have it before us. I think the long and the short of this long-winded presentation is covered on page, I think I said 9, but it's actually page 6 of that document. I would ask the commission to at least look at the other pages, because there are, as the neighbors to this parcel can attest, there are some activities on there which are clearly not related to the initial purpose of the Union Agricultural Society, which was agriculture, and are very disturbing to live next to. And if you just drive down that, I believe it's Country Lane down there in Sunshine Farms, and you just look at their backyards, you can only imagine some buildings, essentially a driveway's width away from your rear property line, having some type of commercial use with or without alcohol. It's completely off of the zoning commission's radar because it was never intended, including by the Union Agricultural's own charter, for this use, not to mention their tax exempt status. I mean, this is a big issue that they should just think seriously about. And but I think there's nothing in section 21493 that is going to be even remotely close to this applicant, and I think they need to rethink their strategy. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Is there anybody else that would like to speak regarding the application?
Yes, I would. Angela,
I just want to state one more thing. Every time somebody speaks, they need to state their name. And if you're speaking in regard to the public hearing, you need to state your name and address at the beginning.
Angela Kohler, 43 Sunshine Farms Drive in Somers, Connecticut. I do not directly abut the fairgrounds, but I hear everything at the fairgrounds. And my biggest concern is, we knew that obviously the fair was there when we built our houses, and that's not the issue. And I just don't want to hear something every weekend at the fairgrounds. It's very disturbing. We can hear Sonny's place over here at our house on a good night. So I don't want Sonny's place right next door to my neighborhood. And I'm sure a lot of other neighbors would be there too. So that's one of the biggest concerns. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Angela. Anybody else like to speak? You can unmute yourself and...
I'm not sure if they can, so I will unmute this person. 763-5060. Hello?
Hello, 763-5060. Who's that?
That's Jeff.
Oh, how come you're there twice?
Oh, Jeff, you're on twice. Oh, I get it. He's on video.
Well,
And then he's on
my phone's going to die if
You
this
don't have
thing
to-
goes on too long.
Oh,
You know what? You can shut your phone off and we see you.
No, we don't
You
see him
won't,
with his
you
phone
won't
on.
see me when I shut the phone off.
oh, okay. So,
Weird.
No, but right now, Jeff, because you have your phone on and you're talking on a phone, we're hearing you echo.
Oh, well, I'll shut off the phone and just use this one. All right, you're gone.
did you want to speak?
All right, I'm just on the regular phone.
Okay, Jeff.
Okay, so you want to speak on this application, John, or are you waiting for your own?
No, I'm just waiting for mine.
Okay.
Okay. So how about the next one?
413-237-1587.
Yes, hi. My name is Toby Renzoni. I live at 20 Little Sorrel Lane, Somers, Connecticut.
Hi, Toby.
And hi. The noise, I don't know if there's any time that the noise cuts out on these events. We put up with it for the Fort Town Fair because of, and I believe it's, I don't know if it's the 4-H fair also, because, it's part of the deal when you buy a house next to a fairgrounds. Like Angela, we can hear Sonny's place almost every weekend. We just don't want that noise every weekend within a stone's throw of the house. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Toby.
This is Angela Kohler again, 43 Sunshine Farms Drive, Somers, Connecticut. One thing I want to add is with even existing businesses around here, if we do complain about noise, nothing is ever done about it. If police are called, they say, well, we have to catch them in the act and we have to have a thing to track the decibels and blah, blah, blah. And that doesn't help us at all. So that's the kind of thing we don't want happening to have more of, is us being ignored when when about noise levels. You can say that the noise is going to stop at 10 o'clock. I can guarantee you it does not stop at 10 o'clock all around here. So I just want to make the board aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak
Okay.
regarding this application?
Jill, Jennifer Roy for the record. So I just wanted to confirm, as Attorney Parks asked, I did receive both his email and his hard copies, and I just wanted to let him know that I did forward the email to all the commission members this afternoon, but the chances of everyone having the time or checking their emails before the meeting at 6:30 and reading through all of it, it's probably slim. But you do all have an emailed copy, and this will be put up on the website with the other documents like we are currently doing under the executive order.
Okay, thank you, Jen. I did receive it. I just didn't have time to look through all of it. It's quite lengthy.
I unmuted John in case he has any other comments regarding that.
I had a couple other comments. Can you hear me, John Park?
You just have to state your name each time you speak when we're doing a Zoom like this.
John Parks.
Thanks, John.
So, yeah, I think to follow up on Angela's point, which I thought about when I was writing up this compliance, the problem is that the fair rents to entities other than the fair its grounds for these other noisy events that include, like, if you look at that Boogie Bash 2010, I thought it was Woodstock when until they pulled out and you could see the fair buildings, a concert and alcohol and vehicles and people. The problem is once the fair rents these properties to these tenants, they have no control because the tenants are now the entity they have rented it for that weekend. And so if you try to call the Fort Town Fair, if you were a neighbor, and say, it's 11 o'clock and they're playing rock music and I want to go to bed, first of all, there's no telephone number on the website for the Fort Town Fair, so good luck. You could email someone, and maybe in a week or so you might hear back from them, but by that time you've lost your residential tranquility in your yard. So I think the whole concept of the Fort Town Fair, which is an agricultural fair, renting its grounds to these third parties, like the latest one is the Mud Bogs. That's a treat to hear. These giant trucks that race through a trench they made in the wetlands. There's nobody from the Fort Town Fair present on the grounds when these activities happen, so they are not accountable. And I think the owner of the property, which if you're the Fort Town Fair, it could be some board member in any of 4 towns that doesn't live next door to it like Angela does, and those concerns are falling on deaf ears, at least at Sunny's place. I know she brought it up, but you know who owns it, and if you called Jerry and said, Jerry, I know you own this, can you do this, that, or the other thing, it's at least they're accountable because it's their operation. But the Fort Town Fair is one step removed from accountability for anything that goes there just by the setup. It's a bad situation, and I encourage the board to read the compliance document, because if you think about it, as I did all weekend, to try to get something that made sense, it really is an anomaly that is it's a prior existing non-conforming use that the fair is now trying to expand. You cannot expand a prior existing non-conforming use. It's just not allowed. That's all I have.
Thank you, John.
Stu Grant for the Fort Town Fair.
Hi, Stu.
Yes. In regards to what John just said, the event that happened in 2000 or 2010 have not come back. because we have not let them come back due to the noise levels and their actions. So we do, we look at people who want to come in, their events and such, and we want to keep peace in the neighborhood as well. But we also like to generate a little income so we can keep the fairgrounds going, operate the fair each year, which is, the profits aren't all that great, but we like to keep it going. We are the oldest fair in the state of Connecticut. As far as the Mud Bug is concerned, that's put on by the Four Town Fair people. The directors are there, the presidents are there. We are heavily involved with that activity. So if the neighbors want to, contact someone, there's a sign right in front of the fairgrounds with a gentleman's name on it that's responsible for renting their fairgrounds. I say we're just trying to generate a little extra revenue so we can do updates on the property and such. We're not looking to be a Sunday's place and every weekend. So that's our point of view. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else on that would like to speak? Have a comment about this application? No? Anybody else have any anything they want to state? I mean, I will say that, again, the email that came out today is quite lengthy and I haven't had a chance to look at it. So I'll be reviewing it.
Carl Walton, I would concur with Jill, and I would suggest that we're probably going to need to keep this public hearing open so that we have an opportunity to read what John wrote and to have it reviewed by the town attorney.
Are you making a motion to that effect, Carl?
I would make a motion to that effect, yes. Providing everyone else is...
Lucas Cherry, sorry.
Providing everyone else who's here from the public has said what they want to say tonight.
Yeah. So I will put this out there. Is there anybody else at this point that would want to speak on this application to be heard? Is there anything else you'd like to put into the record? You can unmute yourself and...
Well, everyone is unmuted. The three callers are unmuted, so if they did want to say anything.
Okay, so nobody's... Lucas, did you have something to say? I saw you come up.
Yeah, I had just seconded Carl's motion.
Oh, okay.
Lucas Cherry speaking, sorry.
Thanks, Lucas. All right, so Carl made a motion that we continue this public hearing so we have time to review the paperwork that Attorney John Parks submitted today. And Lucas Cherry seconded that motion. So I will...
And Carl Walton again.
Carl.
And get the opinion of the town attorney.
And get the opinion from our town attorney as to what John Parks submitted. And we would have to put a date on this, I believe, continue it to... we have...
July 6th is your next regular meeting.
I would say July 6th. Is that...
I would amend my motion to say July 6th.
Perfect. So there's a motion for July 6th to continue the public hearing at 6:30, either via teleconferencing or in the town hall if that's where we are at that time. And
this is Lucas Cherry. I'll second that amendment.
Lucas seconded. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? Those opposed? No opposition? Okay, so this public hearing will be continued on July 6th
6:30 p.m.
at 6:30. Okay? So we have another public hearing this evening. This one here, application number 20-008. This is for Pleasant View Farms at 430 South Road, Summers. This is a renewal for a special use permit for flea markets, festivals in accordance with the zoning regulations of section 214-93. This is a temporary commercial use in a residential A1 zone. And this is Jeff Lipton. Jeff, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Jeff Lipton, 452 South Road. Basically, I'm looking for my 4-year renewal. I've had this permit in place since 1993, and I think out of the 27 years, or how many years it's been, but 27 years. We've had 1 year, we had one complaint. I mean, basically, it's for the American Legion. They do their flea market, and if we want to do a flea market, we can. And a couple times a year, we'll have a couple car shows there, and I don't use the driving range anymore for parking. We don't do the Chili Fest there anymore. So any of my events are tops would be 400 or 500 people at the most at any event. And I'm just asking to have a renewal for that 4-year extension.
Okay. Jennifer, has there been any complaints that you know of? Because we
No.
haven't.
Jennifer Roy, for the record. No, I have not received any complaints.
Okay. So at this time, I'm going to ask if anybody in the public would like to speak on the behalf of Pleasant View Farms renewal of their special use permit. Either for or against. Anybody? Everybody's pretty much unmuted except for Angela and Karen. Does anybody want to speak on this application? Does any
John?
commission member want to speak on this application?
Ms. Chairwoman, Lucas Cherry here. I apologize, my memory is not great, but I know we had discussed possibly revising the years, or how many years that Jeff would have to submit it. Did we ever come to an agreement that it was 4 years, 5 years, something?
No, that was, Carl Walton, just for the record, that was going to be part of our revision of the regulations, Lucas, that we
Okay.
haven't finished yet.
Yep, that's my memory. Yeah.
You were right.
To the point, my memory's not great. It was on a different document.
Nope,
Very similar.
You
All
were
right.
right. You were right on with it, but we didn't do it because we suspended the whole thing.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, so as it stands, it's a 4-year extension that Jeff is asking for. So does anybody see any reason to keep this? I mean, we haven't had any complaints to keep this public hearing open, or are we inclined to close this public hearing?
I'm happy to make I'm sorry. This is Lucas.
Yep. So I guess I'll look for a motion.
To close the application. Just bear with me as I bring everything up. Sorry. I have too many screens open. So, Lucas Cherry speaking. I make a motion to close the public hearing on application number 20-008, Pleasant View Farms, located at 430 South Road, Somers, Connecticut.
we
I'd
have a
second that motion.
second for that?
Carl Walton, I would second that motion.
So Lucas made a motion to close the public hearing. Carl made a motion, a second that motion, Carl Walton. All in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? No opposition. So we'll say this public hearing's closed at 7:10. So we're going to move right along to old business. Discussion, possible decision for application number 200200 excuse me, 20006 for the Union Agricultural Society of Summers, Enfield, Ellington, and East Windsor. That public hearing is going to remain open. So does anybody want to discuss anything or just wait till our next, when we have time to review? Any discussion?
This is Lucas Cherry. I would, my 2 cents is I'm going to wait till I can review the paperwork that was submitted and, review everything in detail.
Thank you, Lucas.
I make a motion, Carl Walton, I make a motion that we table any further discussion on that application until we close the public hearing.
Thank you, Carl. Do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second that, Lucas Cherry.
Lucas seconded the motion, so we are tabling the Union Agriculture Society application due to the public hearing being extended. And again, that public hearing will be on July 6th, continued on July 6th at 6:30. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposition? No? Okay. So we're tabling that. Moving on to second item on under old business is Pleasant View Farms, 430 South Road, application number 20-008. Any discussion? I mean, I would like to say that we haven't had any complaints. Things seem to go pretty smoothly over there. I mean, we go 4 years with, can't believe it's already 4 years. But, so, I mean, I don't have anything to add. If anybody else wants to chime in.
What's this on, Jill? The Fort Town?
It's on Pleasant View Farms.
Oh, Pleasant View Farms. Okay. Sorry. Thank you.
Dan or Carl have any?
I would only offer a motion, Carl Walton. I would
Dan,
offer.
do you have anything to put forward?
Who are you asking, Joe?
Dan?
No, I'm sorry. No, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
So, Carl Walton, for the record, I would make a motion to approve application 20-008 Pleasant View Farms, 430 Summers Road, Summers. Application to continue their use for, I don't have all the details in front of me.
Flea markets,
festivals, and tag sales, etc., as they have done in the past for a period of the next 4 years.
Yeah, in accordance with Regulation 214-93. Just add that in here.
That's good. I don't have anything in front of me that even comes close to reflecting any of that.
Yeah.
This is Lucas Cherry. I'll second Carl's motion.
Thank you, Lucas. Any further discussion before that? No? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries that Pleasant View Farms, 430 South Road, application number 20-008 has been approved to extend their special use permit for another 4 years.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Jeff.
you, Jeff.
You're welcome, Jeff.
I'm getting off this thing. I don't like this electronic nonsense. See you guys later. Have a good night.
Good night,
Hey,
Jeff.
Jeff, thank you.
Yep, thanks.
Okay, so the third item under old business is a discussion only, application number 20-004, Mark and Karen Murdoch, 24 Gulf Road, Summers, Connecticut. The proposed text amendment to the summer zoning regulation, section 214-4, the definitions at section 214-44, prohibited uses, and section 214-87, alcoholic beverages, and section 214-98, a schedule of permitted uses to allow farm winery as permitted use in all zones. So, I mean, we have an open public hearing on this application.
When is the scheduled, Carl Walton for the record, when is the scheduled continuance of that public hearing?
I think it's the 18th.
Okay.
Of June.
I
Right.
think. Is it?
Don't have that in front of me.
Hold on.
This is Lucas Cherry. It's starting to feel like
I
every
think
month.
it's the 22nd.
I think you're correct.
Because I know the 15th we have some, yeah, I'm looking at my calendar right now. I mean, Karen Murdoch's on here if she wants to comment in. I'm sure she knows.
June 27th, is that correct?
No.
Mr. Chairman?
I think so. I'm looking.
As far as we know, yep.
Yes, June 22nd is the
Oh,
continuation.
22nd. Okay.
Yes. Yep. So,
I know that we haven't had any opportunity to exchange paperwork or anything else. I actually was not aware it was on the agenda until scrolling up this far on the agenda, because we didn't receive an agenda in advance of the meeting this time.
Nope,
don't we have, this is Jill Conklin. Don't we have to discuss this in the public hearing? I mean,
Jennifer Roy, for the record, the reason why I put it on there is someone had asked that it be put on for discussion.
It was me. I think it was me that asked
Right.
that it be put on, but I know we haven't had any opportunity to exchange thoughts on anything shared. I mean, we could have a discussion, but in this case, any thoughts that I have would be due to anybody else on the commission, such as changes to the regulation as it was proposed at the start of the last public hearing, because for some of us that was the first we'd seen of that as well.
correct. So, this is Jill Conklin. I also spoke with Jennifer Roy late this afternoon, just before our meeting, and I asked her to get the special use permit that was granted to Worthington Pond and forward that to us and put a copy, in the record so we can see what currently is approved on that site.
Right.
So we can have a better idea going forward of the use.
And Ms. Chairwoman, Lucas Cherry speaking. I wanted to just, share my opinion that I understand many people utilize Facebook as a factual type of website, but I just try to caution members to, and I believe the members do understand, Facebook is an entertainment website for people connecting, and just because it's on Facebook doesn't mean it's a fact. So, I know we've had some stuff submitted into the report, and I know that this topic on a local, state, and federal level has been coming up, and I would just like to point out that, again, Facebook is not like an encyclopedia, I guess. I'm trying to think of something that's factual. So, I know that we've seen some paperwork submitted to the record, and just wanting that to be on the record so the public knows.
Okay.
Yeah, Jill Conklin here. That was a request of the applicant, right, Jennifer? That Facebook narrative be submitted.
Well, correct. I do, Jennifer Roy, for the record. I believe that most recently that was submitted for the record from the Murdochs. A Facebook comments just as supporting information, supporting numbers. I'm not sure that they wanted it. I mean, they're on. They could speak, but it's not the public hearing, so I'm not sure if you want them to speak or not. But just validating that there's many, many people in town that are interested in a winery.
Any further discussion? Carl, did you have anything else?
Carl Walton again for the record. The only thing I would add would be that I think we do need to have another discussion before we have to take up the public hearing, because I, for one, am not in favor of what was forwarded to the Planning Commission in the way and manner it was forwarded. I think there are things that shouldn't be part of a regulation for us, and we have not had an opportunity to discuss that. I mean, if you want to have the discussion tonight, we can, but I was going to provide my other members, co-members, with reasons and examples from other towns beyond the town that was used to craft what was sent to planning, which did not come from the commission. It came from staff.
Well, I think we can have that discussion if everybody's. I mean, I know Paige isn't here, but.
Okay, well, I'll just add that I'm not totally prepared to have that discussion because I don't have the supporting paperwork in front of me. Because, like I said, I was aware that we had talked about it, but I was not aware that it was going to be part of tonight's agenda until this meeting started and I read the agenda, which is on the town website. And that's an apology from me. I am unprepared.
Yeah.
So I'll go with whatever the commission wants to do.
Well, I think because the public, this is Jill Conklin, I think because the public hearing is still open, we had a little discussion. I mean, I think we should let Jennifer forward us that special use permit for Worthington Ponds, because that can either go with the property if well, actually, we're not really talking about a particular property, are we? So
no, we're not. We're only talking about a regulation.
Amendment, yeah. So, yeah.
We have
Chairwoman, one thing, Lucas Cherry speaking, I'm sorry. As Mr. My co-commissioner, Carl Walton had said, I know looking at some different regulations regarding wineries in different towns, I believe, I don't want to state an exact figure, but, if you Google wineries in Connecticut, you'll see them pop up. There's the winery trail, and there's kind of a section kind of boxed out where there is no wineries, which is kind of in the Collin County area. I'm not stating that as an exact location, but if you bring it up, you can notice that. And as Mr. Walton said, I believe it's important that we kind of review some other documentation that that has regulations, that is similar at least to what is under consideration. So, I know it's a pretty complex discussion, and if we wanted to meet as a committee, would we be able to do that, Jennifer?
It's a public hearing, and the public hearing's open. So
okay.
I don't, I think that whatever, Carl Walton wants to suggest for some revisions, he could prepare that. I could circulate it with the commission members, because basically, you can't have a quorum and talk when there's a public hearing open. The things have to be talked about in the public hearing.
Okay.
So
is that something, Carl, that you could get to her, and Jennifer, that you could share with whenever?
Absolutely, Lucas. Carl Walton again for the record. Absolutely, Lucas. It was my intention to have done that before we had any further discussion, and I don't have an excuse for why I didn't get it done yet.
Oh no, but
not to the degree that it's shareable at this point. I have notes made on the information that was sent to us, and some discussion about it not being just simply about wineries.
Okay, great.
This is Dan Farrow. We had proposed regulations for this here, and there's a lot of good points there that we could use, what we're going to have put in for our next new book, you know.
Agreed.
Yes.
Carl Walton again for the record, agreed. But even in that, I think there were some parts of that were too stringent.
And also, Dan Farrell, and also we have the Connecticut State Liquor Control Commissions that we have to go by, and what it allows them to do in Connecticut. And Connecticut Farm Bureau also recognizes this, that they're allowed to do this, to grow white. You know, so we have a couple of good things to discuss through those to start with, you know, and whatever else anybody wants to bring up, you know.
Agreed.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I guess we'll probably pick this up at the public hearing on June 22nd. So if we can get our heads together there, we'll continue the public hearing, and then we'll discuss and see if we can.
We could have Dan Farrell. We could have discussion after that, right? Like we do sometimes, right?
Absolutely.
You know, after if it don't run too long.
If Carl Walton again for the record, we would, I think, be compelled to share with everyone anything we're going to discuss at the meeting, with an adequate time for them to read it and have an opinion of it too. We don't like being in the position where the day of the meeting we have all this stuff laid on us, and we shouldn't do that to any of the applicants either.
So Carl, Jennifer Roy for the record, when do you think maybe you could have that ready?
We're meeting on the 22nd.
Right.
I will have it to you by the beginning of next week at the latest.
So why don't we? This is Jill Conklin.
And then I can.
Why don't we say that by June 12th, anybody on the board here that wants to, in the commission that wants to submit something would have it to Jennifer by then, that she could disperse out to all members and also the applicant and
put it on the website.
And put it on the website. Mm-hmm. You know, just what we're thinking about, because I mean, I miss our face-to-face meetings.
As do I. These are not as productive as it is when we are in the same room.
Yeah,
we're getting there.
So yeah, I think that's what we should do. So let's let that be the deadline. So any commission member or any, have any written information that we want to share with each other to Jennifer by June 12th. Well, let's say June 11th, because
we're closed on Fridays.
Yeah, we're closed on Fridays, and that way she can disperse it to the applicant, the applicant's attorney, and also the rest of us. So we'll have a solid week to review. Mm-hmm. Yeah, before our public hearing. So that sounds like a great idea. So we'll make a motion to, I guess, well, there's an extension to the public hearing, so yeah, we're all set there. So let's move on to staff and staff reports. Any staff reports, Jennifer?
No. Jennifer Roy for the record.
Okay, so minutes approval for May 4th and May 11th, 2020.
I believe I did email them. And if not, if nobody, Jennifer Roy for the record, if nobody recalls getting the email because we've had so much information emailed around, I'd be happy to drop the minutes in the mail to you all, and then you could vote on them next time.
That sounds like a good idea to me, Carl Walton.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Okay, so we're going to defer the minutes approval for May 4th and May 11th, 2020 until our next scheduled meeting, our next scheduled regular meeting.
Do you make a motion? Someone make a motion?
Yep. Sorry, Ms. Chairwoman, did you want to make a motion?
Do I want to make a motion, or do you want to make?
That we table the minutes?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we table the approval of the minutes until our next meeting.
Thank
which
you.
would be on
Which
June 22nd.
our next regularly scheduled meeting. We can't approve minutes at a special meeting.
July
Okay,
6th.
No, that would be,
June
that
15th.
would be
July
No,
6th.
July 6th,
July 6th.
Oh, yes.
by which time we'll have even more minutes.
Oh, yeah.
So is Lucas seconding that?
Yes, I'll second that, Lucas.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, no opposition. Okay, so we're tabling the approval of the minutes. Next on our agenda is the adjournment.
We get to do that?
I'll make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Lucas made a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting at 7:32.
Oh, I want to stay.
Oh, you'll be all alone, Carl.
Yeah. Keep talking.
I make a second to Lucas's well-read motion. How's that?
Okay.
I almost called you Krista because of the K, Lucas.
I know. I can't figure out how to change that K. The name I can't.
It's only off by one letter.
Yeah, well, yeah. Look at that.
All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
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 So our meeting is over at 7:32.
7:32. Wonderful. All right. Jennifer, as always, thank you.